What is up, guys? You got NotTheWorst here, bringing another Black Desert online video, and today we're going to be taking a look at Dark Knight Crystal setup. As this gets asked a lot, decided to finally go ahead and put a video into it. So we're going to take a look at a few options and then some upcoming options with how Odalita is going to mix things up a little bit. So you've got the listed here. This is linked in the description down below if you want to check out the document. It's pretty straightforward for the most part, so nothing out of the ordinary if you're familiar with crystal setups. If you're not, this is pretty standard. You can deviate from these things. This isn't the end all be all what every Dark Knight on the planet is using. There's also a case for straight up PvP using RBF crystals and that sort of thing, but this is kind of your basic outline for what to expect. So first up, we have a common setup, and this works in PvE or PvP aspects both for what you'll see. In your main hand, you're going to have Elcar, Precision Crystals if you're balling on a budget like myself. Offhands, you got Corrupt or Critical Crystals. Gloves, you've got your Jin Viper. Chest, Kobe, Jin, or Bond, or Evasion Crystals. That tends to be a more PvP oriented. And then your helm and boots, you're going to be running your Han Hum. So let's take a look at each of these crystals and kind of see what they're doing and why we're selecting each of those here. Now, first up, obviously your Crystal of Elcar. This is best in slot for your main hand. You're going to get 12 accuracy and 10% ignore all resistance. It is very similar to your Black Magic Precision Crystal, except that you get 4 less accuracy on each one. So having 2 Elcar crystals in there, you're actually picking up an extra 8 accuracy, which might not seem like a lot, but it is a lot. In fact, it's 600 mil worth of a lot to be using that. More so the rarity that those things drop that drives that price to be that much, but it is that good. You can get away with precisions at least until you're at a point in the gear where you need to invest another 600 mil into getting into the Elcars. Next up, you've got your offhand, so your Corrupted Crystals. If you run 2 of these guys, because it has a nice set effect in addition to it. So critical hit crystals, which are your other option, they're just going to get you critical hit 10% damage. You can pop 2 of those in, boom, damage. Well, these guys give you plus 10% damage, 2 AP, and all damage reduction -2. In addition to, each crystal is giving you that, keep in mind. Then for having 2 of those, you're going to get an additional 2% on it. So you've got a total of 22% critical hit damage increase. 2% over just a basic critical hit, but you're also getting that bonus of 4 effective AP as well at the cost of 4 damage reduction removed from there. So probably definitely going with the Corrupted Crystals. They're not that expensive at all, especially compared to some of the others. Moving on to our gloves, you kind of don't have a choice here. You're going Jin Viper. You can definitely use budget crystals when you're gearing up and kind of getting that point, but it's going to be Jin Viper. You don't very often see builds that don't run Jin Viper. Why? Because it's 20 accuracy per crystal, which is absolutely bonkers for that. Attack speed's not super relevant because your buffs and things are going to get you to where you need to be anyhow for the most part, but it's Jin Viper or nothing. So now we get to the chest spot, which you definitely have some options here first. So personally, I'm currently running Kobe setup, a Jin and a Bond, and that's just the reason I'm running one and the other is just because that's what I rolled when I happened to come across some Kobe's, and that's where we're at. Why would you pick one or the other? If you want more HP, maybe if you're running like a Tet Gieth setup or something like that, Voltara Belt and Ruins rings, and you really want to try and max out HP, you might want to lean towards some Bond Kobe's there. You're going to get 150 HP along with 3 damage reduction. There is weight limit increase, but it's kind of whatever. So 3 damage reduction and an additional 150 HP per crystal there, so you get 300 for those. If you're more focused on that damage reduction that you want to get, the Jin will get you 5 damage reduction as well as 100 HP on it, so a little bit less HP. I'm not saying if you're using Gieth, you have to go with the HP one. This is kind of up to you for what you want to use. But yeah, that's kind of going to encompass. It works fine. PvP setup. It's better than PvE setup than what your alternative is going to be. And what a lot of people are using these days is the standard Evasion Crystal. Now, I know what you're saying. It's just a blue crystal. Why use this? Well, this crystal, it's special attack evasion rate, and if you don't know what that is, essentially your back attacks or down attacks, these types of attacks that are increased damage amounts, this actually increases your evasion rate that you evade a back attack. So having 2 of these gives you 20% special attack evasion. If you have something like a Fiery Nuver, or if you're using Fiery Kudum for whatever reason, or something like that already set up, that has an additional 10%, so you have a 30% special attack evasion rate when stacked with these crystals. Super handy in PvP, no doubt about that. However, it's not really going to do anything for you in PvE. Reason for that, it's not very often that mobs are hitting you with special attacks, and if they are, you did something wrong in the first place, at least for the most part. So this, you're going to see a whole lot of this running. It's mostly for PvP. If you want to go more PvE oriented, there's no problem running Kobe's if that's what you want to do. This actually does tend to reduce more damage than those Kobe's are going to. Then straightforward in the boots and the helm both, we have our 4 set of Han Hums. They're just an all-around great crystal to be running defensively and a little bit of offensively as well. Individually, the crystal's got 2 accuracy, a resistance, and 30 HP, and then you're going to get once each the 2 crystal set effect and the 4 crystal set effect, which is going to get you another 5 damage reduction, 150 HP, 4 evasion, 8 accuracy, and then 3 resistance in addition to the other effects on the 4 crystal. So you've got a lot of bonus HP and accuracy and resistance. Is really good stats on those Whom crystals. They're pretty much the essential stone to be using on most every class these days, at least. So then we're just going to talk about a straight up PvE, just PvE setup. You never PvP. You don't care about defending your spot or whatever the case may be. So it varies just a little bit here. What we're going to be changing, everything you can see is the same. You still have the option to run a couple of things here: History in your boots or Kobe's in your chest, which we were looking at before. But what you can notice, instead of the Han Whoms, we're talking about Han Macalods here. So let's pull that up here and take a look at what we get out of these. These guys are just really, really, really good PvE-oriented crystals. You're getting a lot of stamina off this. You're getting a little bit of bonus accuracy and additional ape accuracy on this. You also get some ignore all resistance on it, which is not bad at all, to say the least for this. You pick up an extra 1% on each of the 4, so a 4% total there, and then a 3% for having a bonus to all 4 sets. So on top of the AP gain for this is definitely something you could run if you, like I said, pure PvE. The reason I say that, you could definitely do this in PvP and get away with it, but you're going to be a whole lot less tanky, so you really want to like never get hit running this over the Whoms. The Whoms are actually a surprising amount of tankiness when you switch over. You'll even see that in PvE as well. If you've used Whom previously and then switch over to these, you'll notice the damage difference that's actually happening just on those crystal slots alone. Now, it mentioned before that in that set, you could be running the Kobe's in your chest, or you could put the Macalods in the chest, and then in your boots be running either History of Crystals or the Macalods. Reason for that, Bond History is here. It's going to get you an additional 150 stamina. Stamina is always great in PvE. You're dashing around, burning that thing up as you're killing pack to pack, moving along. It also has 50 weight increase. You could use one of the other History of Crystals if, let's say, you wanted 175 stamina, which gives you like a 20 weight limit. It also gives you the movement speed, which isn't going to be irrelevant again with your food buffs and things up like that. So that's that. So that's kind of what you've got for options, at least right now, for crystal setups. Again, there's all kinds of other things you can fine tune and maybe run some RBF crystals in certain things, but it gets a little more sophisticated from there. This is kind of just your basic, here's a crystal setup. Like I said, this is going to be your most common, what you're going to see for the most part, usually with an evasion set. Here and there you'll see a little more PvE oriented players with the Kobe's and what have you from there. In the future, what we're going to be looking at, we have dandy sets. What's going to be happening is Garmoth's Heart is actually going to be able to create crystal sockets in your Dandelion or Dragon Slayer weapon. So you'll be able to get 2 more crystal sockets, and those crystals will have their own awakening crystal sets that you can use, the Akrad or Olika. I don't know if that name will get changed when it does get released. And as you can see there, each of them does 3 more accessory, so you can get a total of 6 more accessory out of those slots, which is not bad at all. And then 5 monster damage or 5 human damage, depending on which one you end up going with in these sockets. Now, that's not your only option for the dandy sets, as you see I've listed here. You could also be using combines into these slots. So this could open up maybe some other specific crystals that you want to use. If you're running, basic setup here and you want to try adding some History of Crystals, to your setup out of the boots, you could actually move the 2 Han Whoms into your awakening set and then try out some Historias, or you want a Helm crystal you want to try, or something like that, Harfias in the helm, whatever the case may be that you want to run. You can actually move the combined crystals into the dandy slots instead of having to keep with just these here. That also means you could run something like, instead of the Kobe's, if you're running those in your chest, you could potentially swap those out for 2 more Macalods and then run 2 Macalods into your awakening. So you would actually be getting the Whom bonus, and you would get the Macalod set bonus, which again, an 8 accuracy, some ignore resistance, really good stats, extra stamina on that. So that could be a potential option. I'm sure there'll be a whole lot of playing around with this once we get it live on servers, or on the NAEU servers rather, so that people kind of fine tune and decide what's more common. But again, it's gonna be a lot of versatility as far as what people want to use for crystal setups. And speaking of versatility, you can also use any crystals that are versatile, can be used in any socket crystal. That will work in the awakening as well. So there you have it, just some basic crystal setups for Dark Knight in general, and then kind of thinking about the future. I'm actually interested to get to just at least try out a Macalod and Whom setup in PvE in general, just to get that extra bonus, and then see how viable it is for PvP in general. I would imagine those evasion crystals are just too valuable in the PvP setup to want to give those up, but who knows, we'll have to see when that happens. Anyways, that's going to be it for this video. Be sure to like it if you did enjoy it. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button with the bell on so you get notifications when new videos do go live. And if you want to catch me playing live, there is a link to my Twitch page. It's down in the description below. You can just head on over there and drop a follow so you get notifications when I am live streaming. With that said, I want to thank everybody for watching, and I will see you next time.